My sister demanded I uninvite my best friend from my wedding because she dated my sister's ex 5 years ago. I refused, and now my entire family is boycotting the ceremony. AITA? I, 28F, am getting married to my fiancé Jake, 30M, in 2 months. We've been planning our dream wedding for over a year, and everything was going smoothly until last week when my sister Melissa, 31F, dropped a bombshell that has torn our family apart. Some background: my best friend since childhood, Sarah, 28F, is going to be my maid of honor. Sarah and I have been inseparable since we were 5 years old. We've been through everything together: first crushes, high school drama, college applications, breakups, you name it. She's been my rock through thick and thin, and I couldn't imagine my wedding day without her by my side. Now, here's where things get complicated. About 5 years ago, Sarah briefly dated a guy named Tom, 32M. They were together for maybe 3 months before realizing they weren't compatible and parting ways amicably. No drama, no hard feelings, just two adults realizing they weren't right for each other. Fast forward to last week. I was having dinner with Melissa to discuss some wedding details when she suddenly got very quiet and serious. She looked me in the eye and said, "I need you to uninvite Sarah from the wedding." I was shocked. Sarah has been an integral part of the wedding planning process, and she's put so much time and effort into making sure everything is perfect. I asked Melissa why on earth she would want me to do that. That's when she dropped the bomb: Sarah dated Tom 5 years ago. I can't be at the wedding if she's there. Now, I knew that Melissa had dated Tom at some point, but I had no idea it was such a big deal to her. They were only together for about 6 months, and from what I understood, it wasn't a particularly serious relationship. I was completely blindsided by her request. I tried to reason with her, pointing out that Sarah and Tom's relationship was brief and happened years ago. I reminded her that Sarah is my best friend and has been there for me through everything. I even offered to make sure they were seated at different tables and wouldn't have to interact during the wedding. But Melissa wouldn't budge. She insisted that having Sarah there would be too painful for her and that I needed to choose between my sister and my best friend. I was stunned by her ultimatum and told her I needed time to think. Over the next few days, I tried to wrap my head around the situation. I talked to Jake, who was equally baffled by Melissa's demand. He suggested we try to mediate between Melissa and Sarah, but when I floated the idea to Melissa, she shut it down immediately. I reached out to Sarah to get her perspective. She was hurt and confused by Melissa's reaction, especially since she and Tom had barely been a blip on the radar. Sarah offered to talk to Melissa herself to clear the air, but I knew Melissa wouldn't agree to that. After a lot of soul-searching, I decided that I couldn't uninvite Sarah. She's been my best friend for over 2 decades, and the thought of her not being there on my wedding day broke my heart. I truly believe that Melissa was overreacting to a non-issue, and I hoped that with some time, she would come around. I called Melissa to give her my decision, trying to be as gentle as possible. I told her that I loved her and wanted her at my wedding, but that I couldn't uninvite Sarah over something so trivial that happened years ago. I promised to do everything I could to make sure she was comfortable at the wedding, but I stood firm on my decision. Melissa didn't take it well. She screamed at me, calling me a terrible sister and accusing me of choosing my friend over family. She hung up on me, and I was left feeling devastated and conflicted. The next day, things went from bad to worse. My mom called, clearly upset, asking why I was trying to hurt Melissa. Apparently, Melissa had called her in tears, telling her version of events. My mom demanded that I reconsider my decision, saying that family should come first. I tried to explain my side of the story, but my mom wasn't having it. She told me that if I didn't uninvite Sarah, she and my dad wouldn't be attending the wedding either. I was floored. I never imagined my own parents would boycott my wedding over something like this. Over the next few days, the situation snowballed. Melissa had reached out to our extended family, spinning a tale of how I was choosing an outsider over blood relatives. Aunts, uncles, and cousins started calling and texting, some trying to persuade me to change my mind, others outright telling me they wouldn't be coming to the wedding if Sarah was there. I felt like I was living in some sort of bizarre alternate reality. How had my wedding turned into this family dividing drama over a brief relationship that happened 5 years ago? Jake has been incredibly supportive through all of this. He's furious with my family for putting me in this position and has offered to elope if that's what I want. But I've dreamed of my wedding day since I was a little girl, and the thought of giving that up because of this ridiculous situation makes me want to scream. Sarah, bless her heart, even offered to step down as maid of honor and not attend the wedding to keep the peace. But I refused to let her do that. This whole situation isn't her fault, and I won't punish her for my sister's irrational behavior. As it stands now, 2 weeks have passed since this all started, and things have only gotten worse. My entire immediate family, parents, sister, and even my brother who initially stayed out of it, are now boycotting the wedding. A significant portion of my extended family has also declined their invitations. Jake's family is bewildered by the whole situation. His parents have been incredibly kind, offering to help however they can and assuring me that they're there for us no matter what. But I can see the concern in their eyes, wondering what kind of family they're marrying into. I've tried reaching out to Melissa multiple times, hoping to find some sort of compromise, but she's blocked my number and won't respond to any of my messages. My parents are still talking to me, but every conversation devolves into them trying to guilt me into changing my mind. I'm at my wit's end. Part of me wants to stand my ground because I truly believe I'm not in the wrong here. Sarah has been nothing but a wonderful friend, and the idea of uninviting her over something so petty feels cruel and unjust. But another part of me is heartbroken at the thought of looking out at my wedding guests and not seeing my family there. Jake and I have discussed postponing the wedding to give everyone time to cool off, but we've already put down non-refundable deposits, and most of our out-of-town guests have booked their travel. Plus, I worry that giving in now will only encourage this kind of behavior from my family in the future. I've always been close with my family, and I never imagined they would do something like this. I'm hurt, angry, and confused. I cry myself to sleep most nights, torn between my love for my family and my sense of what's right. Am I the asshole for refusing to uninvite my best friend for my wedding? Should I have just given in to keep the peace? How do I move forward from here? Edit 1. Wow, I didn't expect this post to blow up like it has. Thank you all for your supportive comments and advice. I wanted to address a few common questions/comments. 1. Many of you have asked if there's more to the story between Sarah and Tom. As far as I know, there isn't. They dated briefly and parted ways without any drama. I've asked Sarah if anything happened that I don't know about, and she swears there's nothing more to it. I believe her. 2. Some have suggested that Melissa might be jealous of my relationship with Sarah. While it's true that Sarah and I have always been very close, Melissa has her own group of friends and has never seemed bothered by my friendship with Sarah before. 3. Regarding Tom, I don't have much contact with him these days, but last I heard, he's married with a kid on the way. I'm pretty sure he has no idea about any of this drama. 4. To those asking about Melissa's relationship history, she's had a few serious boyfriends over the years, but she's currently single. As far as I know, her relationship with Tom wasn't particularly significant compared to her other relationships. 5. Jake and I have discussed eloping, but we're hesitant to give up on the wedding we've planned and dreamed of. We're still considering all our options. Edit 2. Things have taken an unexpected turn. Last night, I received a call from my Aunt Linda, my mom's sister. She apologized for initially siding with Melissa and said she'd been doing some thinking. Apparently, she reached out to Tom, they work for the same company, to get his side of the story. According to Aunt Linda, Tom was completely baffled by the whole situation. He barely remembered dating Sarah and couldn't understand why it would be an issue now. But here's the kicker, Tom revealed that Melissa had reached out to him about a month ago, asking if he wanted to catch up. He politely declined, telling her he was happily married. Now, I'm wondering if there's more to Melissa's reaction than just lingering feelings over a past relationship. Could she have been hoping to rekindle something with Tom, only to be rejected? Is this whole drama some sort of misplaced retaliation? I'm even more confused now, but also angry. If this is true, Melissa has torn our family apart over what amounts to a bruised ego. I'm not sure how to proceed with this new information, but I wanted to update you all. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Edit 3. I'm overwhelmed by the outpouring of support and advice from all of you. Your comments have given me a lot to think about. After much discussion with Jake, we've decided on a course of action. 1. We're not uninviting Sarah. She's my best friend and has done nothing wrong. She deserves to be at our wedding. 2. We're not postponing the wedding. We've put too much time, money, and emotion into planning this day, and we don't want to let this situation derail our plans. 3. I'm going to reach out to Melissa one last time, armed with the information from Aunt Linda. I'll offer her a chance to explain herself and try to work things out. However, I'll make it clear that her behavior has been unacceptable, and there will need to be sincere apologies and changes if we're to move forward as a family. 4. I'm planning to have a serious conversation with my parents. I'll explain how hurt I am by their actions and try to understand why they've chosen to side with Melissa without even attempting to see my perspective. I'm hoping that with some open, honest communication, we can start to heal this rift. 5. For those family members who have chosen to boycott the wedding, we've decided to stand firm. Their invitations will remain open until the RSVP date, but we won't be begging anyone to attend. If they choose not to come, that's on them. 6. We're focusing on the positive. We still have many friends and family members who are supporting us and are excited to celebrate our day. We're going to put our energy into making it a joyful occasion for those who choose to be there. Thank you all again for your support and advice. This situation has been incredibly difficult, but it's also shown me the strength of my relationship with Jake and the true value of friendships like the one I have with Sarah. I'll update again after I've had a chance to talk with my family. Final edit. It's been a whirlwind few weeks, and I wanted to give you all a final update on the situation. First, I want to thank everyone for their support and advice. Your comments gave me the strength to stand my ground and the wisdom to approach this situation with as much grace as I could muster. So, here's what happened. I reached out to Melissa, armed with the information from Aunt Linda. I asked her to meet me in person, thinking a face-to-face conversation would be better than trying to hash things out over the phone. To my surprise, she agreed. We met at a neutral location, a quiet coffee shop halfway between our homes. The first few minutes were tense and awkward, but eventually, we started talking. Really talking. It turns out, the situation was even more complicated than I had imagined. Melissa broke down and admitted that her reaction wasn't really about Sarah dating Tom 5 years ago. The truth was, she had been struggling with some serious personal issues that she'd been keeping from the family. Melissa revealed that she'd recently been diagnosed with depression and had been grappling with feelings of inadequacy and loneliness. Seeing me happy and planning my wedding had stirred up a lot of complicated emotions for her. She admitted that reaching out to Tom had been a moment of weakness, a misguided attempt to reconnect with a time in her life when she felt more in control. When Tom rejected her, it brought all her insecurities rushing to the surface. Learning that Sarah would be front and center at the wedding as my maid of honor just added salt to the wound. In her fragile emotional state, she lashed out, targeting Sarah as the source of her pain when in reality, she was dealing with much deeper issues. I was stunned by her confession. While it didn't excuse her behavior, it certainly helped me understand where she was coming from. We spent hours talking, crying, and eventually, laughing a little too. It felt like I was finally reconnecting with the sister I'd always been close to. Melissa apologized profusely for her behavior and the drama she'd caused. She agreed to reach out to the family members she'd contacted and explain the situation, taking full responsibility for her actions. She also said she'd understand if I didn't want her at the wedding after everything that had happened, but that she'd love to be there if I'd still have her. As for my parents, once Melissa explained everything to them, they were mortified by their behavior. They came to see me in person, offering heartfelt apologies and promising to make things right. We had a long, emotional conversation that I think we all needed. Sarah, being the amazing friend she is, was incredibly understanding when I explained the situation to her. She even suggested that she and Melissa meet for coffee to clear the air between them. They did, and while I don't think they'll ever be best friends, they've reached an understanding. So, here's where things stand now. 1. The wedding is still on as planned, with both Sarah as my maid of honor and my family in attendance. 2. Melissa is seeking professional help for her depression, and we're all committed to supporting her through this journey. 3. Most of the extended family who had declined their invitations have now RSVP'd yes, after learning the truth about the situation. 4. Jake and I feel stronger than ever, having weathered this storm together. His unwavering support throughout this ordeal has only confirmed that I'm marrying the right person. 5. I've learned some valuable lessons about communication, empathy, and the importance of not jumping to conclusions. While the past few weeks have been incredibly stressful and emotional, I'm cautiously optimistic about the future. This situation forced us to confront some difficult truths and ultimately brought our family closer together. To everyone who offered advice, shared similar stories, or just sent words of encouragement, thank you. Your support meant more than you know. And to anyone else who might be going through family drama, especially around a wedding, hang in there. Sometimes, the path to resolution is messier and more complicated than we expect, but with patience, communication, and a willingness to listen, it's possible to find a way forward.